Hey, welcome to the Strong Roots podcast. My name is Kristen Hill, and we are so excited that you're tuning in today. Our prayer is that you would move one step closer to Jesus through this series. So go ahead and check out this next episode. Hey, Strong Roots. We are in the middle of our grief and loss season, and I am here with Lynnsi, and she is such a servant-hearted woman. I have had the privilege of knowing her for many years, and she's been such a blessing, and her steadfast faith has been inspiring to me. So thank you so much for being here, being willing to talk about this. And she has a unique story to share in regards to grief and loss. And Lynnsi, would you just describe the season of grief and loss we're going to talk about today?
So I would like to talk about just losing my dad, parent in general, but for me it's my dad. This season, I think, is mostly for me not getting to see my kids grow up with him, because he was he taught us so much as kids, and I know that he would have done the same thing for my boys, and they talk about him so much still. So I just know that they are missing out on so much. So I get sad when I think about them not getting to grow up with him, as well as me not getting to, be an adult with him in his retired years. So, because he was only 61 when he passed away. So,
will you describe how, was it expected? Was it unexpected? How did the way that, the season started, how did that affect the rest of your journey?
So it was not expected at all. My dad had many health issues throughout his life, but it was never anything that couldn't be fixed with the surgery or, something he would go in and it would get fixed. We got the call one day that he had an issue with his stomach and he was in the hospital. So we went to be with him. Should have been a quick 24-hour thing. And then the next morning at 4 o'clock, we got the call that he had passed. So we were very not expecting it at all, very taken aback. Right. Not really sure how to handle it because, either way, grief is terrible and loss is terrible, but unexpectedly when you don't have time to say the things that you want to say to someone or, before they leave the earth, I think that was the hardest part, for us as a family and as, just for myself, so.
What were the questions and or the negative emotions that you felt from that? How did you deal with them and how did you give them to God?
So my dad, my whole life, was always the person to say, when it's my time to go, it's my time to go. We didn't expect him to go when he did, but the more that we talk about it, he had said things even a couple days prior to him passing to my stepmom about, when it's my time to go, you'll be able to do this. And you don't think about those things, but he was so adamant and so sure that whenever it was his time, he would go see Jesus and that was it. And so I had so much confidence when that happened. As angry as I was at the situation and how things were handled, I knew that that's who he was with. And I knew that he wasn't in any more pain, that he had always had bad arthritis with his legs. He wasn't suffering anymore. And you think about all the things that he's doing now, in his perfect body.
Yes,
so
yes.
You just get kind of a chuckle with that because I can only imagine what he is doing.
Right.
So for me, that instantly was able to switch my anger and my grief to more of a rejoicing, because I knew he was ready and he was always ready. So
I love that.
Yeah, it was great in that sense for sure.
That's neat that he created that piece by just saying that statement all the time.
Yeah, all the time.
Yes. So what's been surprising about grief? I think specifically, we know we were born and our parents have always been there. So what is something that has been surprising in this season, in this grief with not having your dad?
I think when it hits you.
Yeah.
Anytime anything would go wrong, something with a car, something with a house, something with making a decision. He was a person you could call and be like, okay, this is what this sounds like. What should we do? He's like, oh, that would sound like, he just had an answer. And it's very hard to not have that now. So it's like I get surprised, like even still, like I'll want to call him. So that's really hard for me. And also just at the moments when grief actually hits you, like completely unexpected.
Yeah.
I was in Walmart once, and I was in like the automotive section, which was totally his jam, and I saw these little like canisters of like car freshies that he used, and I like had a breakdown in the middle of the store. You don't expect that ever.
Right.
You think, oh, it's fine, I'm just gonna run in and get a few things, but like little reminders will just hit you at the weirdest time and will bring you to your knees.
Right.
So that's been the weirdest thing about grief for me, I think. Just not knowing when it's gonna actually affect you.
Yeah, and almost being blindsided.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So how have people effectively walked alongside of you and helped support you in this season?
So strangely enough, one of my best friends that I met probably 4 years ago, she had just experienced losing her mom. Mm-hmm. And, now looking back, God definitely placed her in my life. She just got it, and she was able to talk me through it and, tell me the things that I was feeling were justified and how to handle things better. And so I'm just so thankful that, as sad as it is or as unfortunate it is that people have to deal with this, that they can come alongside you and help you through it, because you don't know what to expect. And you kind of feel like, is it bad for me to be happy right now in a moment of happiness, even if something terrible just happened? So you just kind of like, it ebbs and flows all the time. So it was nice having that commonality, as terrible as it is.
Oh, yeah, to help her walk you and navigate you through it and be wise without maybe the scars that she went through. Yeah. Having to do it more alone, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So everyone who is trying to help someone who is grieving has mostly the best intentions, okay? Is there anything people did that was not helpful and that hurt more than helped?
I wouldn't say hurt necessarily, but I'm a type of person, I don't ask people for help. Right. So when someone says, oh, let me know if you need anything, I'm never going to ask you for help. So for me, my best advice would be if someone's dealing with something, just show up or just send them something or just send them a text or a call. Like those are the most meaningful things that you could do. Because it definitely... most people in this situation aren't going to be like, please come drop everything you're doing to help me, or whatever. So I think that's the biggest thing. It's just if you feel like you should reach out to them, do it in a way like just send an encouraging note or, drop off a coffee. You don't even have to like stay. Just drop it off and then text, hey, I dropped a coffee on your porch. Like something small like that, just so that people know that you're thinking, that they're thinking of you. And it doesn't have to be a big grand gesture, but
putting your thoughts into actions.
Yeah, for sure. And it's not that you don't appreciate the people saying, let me know if you need help, but more than likely no one's going to ask for help.
But I don't think you know what to ask for.
Right.
Like I think that's half the battle is you're an assertive woman. Like if you really needed something, you would probably, but I think in the midst of grief, you're like, I don't even know what I need.
Yeah, right. Yeah, because it could, and someone might do something, you'd be like, oh, I actually needed that, and you had no idea, for sure.
Even if it is a card, like, how do they, like, God knew I needed this encouragement, this moment.
Yep, absolutely.
Oh, that's so good.
Yeah.
So, how have you seen God's faithfulness and goodness in the midst of this grief?
I think it's strengthened my faith to the point where in the beginning, I would always ask myself, like, what if I would have done this? Or if I would have stayed, would this have played out differently? Like I was beating myself up about that for a really long time. But now I know it's like, no matter what I did, when God chooses to take somebody home, that's it, So for me, I think that's just strengthened my faith. Like I don't do the what ifs, I don't lose sleep over that anymore. It's, I'm strong in my faith knowing like, this was God's time for him. This is what he chose, and nothing I could have done would have mattered,
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
Is there anything? This is just coming straight from my heart. So, It might not be worded best, but
That's fine.
is there anything that not only surprised you about grief, but like in the midst of it, do you feel like in the moments that you've been mourning, in the moments that you've been struggling, what are the things that in this have made you stronger? Like, is there anything, if you look back, you're like, I am stronger in this way, or I am, like you said, trusting God more in this way. Is there anything specific that you're like, if it wasn't for this heartache, I don't think I would be blank?
I would say, so I've been really encouraging, especially with, Tommy's family even, when there's for example, his grandparents got really sick and he wasn't sure, like, oh, maybe we'll just go tomorrow or whatever. And I said, if you feel like you should go, you need to go.
Right.
Because that was the one thing that I struggled with in the beginning. I didn't go when I felt I should have.
Right.
So for anybody that ever second guesses themselves or, maybe tomorrow will be fine, let them do that. No, if you feel like you won't regret ever going.
Right.
So I think for me, I've just been a bigger advocate on just making sure like nothing's more important and you'll never regret going to spend time with someone that you could make a difference in, or that could be the last time you see them. You just don't know. So you'll never regret that. And so I just really push for that with people all the time. Like, just
Do
go.
it.
Yeah, just do it.
Yeah. That, I couldn't agree with you more. You will not regret it.
No, never.
Oh, it's so good.
Yeah.
So how has this affected your parenting? Maybe it hasn't, but has this affected the way that you're living your life with your family, with your marriage?
I feel like I'm a little calmer.
Yeah.
And a little more patient just with my kids, only because my dad was that way.
Yeah.
He was a very just like a gentle, spirited person.
Yeah.
And very calm all the time. And I never remember my dad raising his voice at me. I just don't. So I just think, my mom wasn't like that either, but he just wasn't like that. And so because he's not here, I try to live that out for them, I feel like, a little bit more. So I feel like I'm a little calmer. I try to be a little more adventurous with them because let's face it, sometimes boys are a lot.
Yes.
And, it's like, okay, I just don't know what to do. But I just try to be more intentional with them and what I do.
If somebody is listening to this right now and maybe it's fresh, like it just happened, what do you wish you would have known maybe beforehand? And is there anything or advice or heartfelt thing you would like to say to them?
I would say making yourself busy isn't going to mask your sadness.
That's good.
You can fill your plate with 1,000 million things to keep your mind and yourself busy, but at some point that's going to stop and you're going to need to feel the things. And I run usually at one speed, and so I really just made myself slow down, feel the things, and then you move on with life. But you have to let yourself go through the process of being upset and sad and missing a person. Like, it's necessary. Because I feel like otherwise, eventually, it'll all come crashing down, and it might be worse than if you would just slowly.
And God's just waiting.
Yeah.
He's just patiently okay, when are you going to slow down and let me heal you?
Right, and I feel like sometimes during those slow moments or the non-busyness, that's when you hear him the most. Your stillness, that's when he wants to talk to you.
Yes.
And keeping your mind busy all the time, you're blocking out everything.
Right.
So including him. So I think definitely you got to hear, it's not just for your own good, but God will talk to you the most in those moments, I think.
Oh, amen.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to end on that. Do you have any questions for me?
So I guess since I know both your parents are still alive, how do you help someone go through the grieving process? If you do you find it hard helping someone when you haven't necessarily experienced it yourself?
Yeah. I think for sure. But I think I will honestly say that I think it's harder but easier because let's say we're talking about parenting. We're both moms. I'm going to listen to you, but I'm going to come back with oh girl, this thing, blah blah blah.
Yeah.
And I'm listening, but I'm more just I'm excited to banter with you about the topic.
Yeah.
So I don't have that. I can't lead necessarily in that way or share. But I do think something that helps me is because I don't, I'm very curious and I'm able to ask genuine questions.
Yeah.
Because I have no experience with it. So I think the greatest strength is I don't, but greatest weakness is that I don't, but my greatest strength is that I don't, because then I can genuinely ask. And I think kind of like what you said, I think being intentional and being led by the Holy Spirit, like if you're put on my mind or if somebody, acting on it, regardless if it's a health problem or just somebody popping in your mind, like don't assume, I don't know, don't keep doing what you're doing. I'm really trying to pause and just send the text, do the thing, and but yeah, so yes and no.
Yeah,
if that makes sense.
No, for sure. And you are a very genuine person, and you do ask really good questions. Just so you know. I always think that, like, man, that's some good questions.
I really actually want to know.
I think you're great at it. And then my other one was, like, where specifically in the Bible would you direct somebody if they're dealing with grief? Or do you have a place? Like, even if it's not grief related, like maybe just a verse that helps, like, with sorrow or being upset or anger even, I guess.
Job.
Yeah.
I feel like, man, talk about, I read it still and I'm like, holy cow. The fact that he loved God and saw his faithfulness through it, I'm just like, to take everything away. So Job is a good one. But also, the Bible app is awesome. There's I don't have a specific plan, but I feel like there's so many plans on there about loss and heaven and grief.
That's
true.
And
I love to do it with people. And kind of going off what you said, with any topic really, but I'm like, I might, I'll even do dating ones.
Yeah.
I'm not dating, but I'm like, I can always learn something, not only for myself, but in leading other people.
Right.
So, but I think it's maybe not a Bible verse, but my last thought is just to focus on eternity, that we are all not, life is but a mist. And what is that verse? We were made from the dirt and we'll be back in the dirt.
Yeah.
And that we're not living for this life. And to quote your dad, when it's our time, it's our time.
I know. Yeah. That's so true.
Thank you for asking such great questions.
Yeah, thank you.
Yes, was there a Bible verse that stuck out to you, or a book in the Bible or a Bible plan or devotional that really helped you?
I didn't. So it was actually Aaliyah that recommended 1 Year of Hope.
Yes.
And I love that.
Yes.
Just because you can, it's about loss regardless of who or what or how, but you can find different parts and different stories in there. And I do refer to that a lot because I think it's a really good one just to have.
Yeah.
And even if, it's something that you might think is insignificant, you could definitely find some just really good, solid answers in there, or stories that might uplift you a little. So I do really love that book.
Absolutely. And it's Nancy Guthrie, I think?
I think so.
Yes.
Yeah. I never know how to pronounce her last name. But yes, I think you're right.
Oh, it's so good.
Yeah,
Thank you,
it is.
Lynnsi.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you for everyone who is listening. And I have a couple takeaways for you. If you are looking for a really good devotional, that Words of Hope? No.
1 Year of Hope.
1 Year of Hope by Nancy Guthrie is a really, really great place to start. And also, when it comes to our friends, our family members, if you feel that nudge to visit someone or send someone a text or bring someone a coffee like you suggested, do it. Let's be people who act on our love, and you'll never regret it, like you said. So that is a challenge for you guys today. Thank you so much for tuning in. I can't wait to catch you next time. Bye. If you enjoyed today's episode, make sure to follow us on our other social media platforms. We don't want you to miss out on any future content. Thank you so much again, guys. I hope you have a great day. And I want you to know I am personally praying that your roots stay strong.